So this is the Ratarossa, and you told me a story earlier inside about how this car came to be. Maybe you can, well, why don't you say quickly, like, you know, what a standard Testarossa is, and then what's the deal with this one? Because this is like something I've never seen before.
So a standard Testarossa, so Ferrari only made a Testarossa with one extra part, and that's this bit here. They were missing a roof. They only made a Testarossa as a coupe. So I had a very nice Ferrari Testarossa coupe in 1990, typical Ferrari in red, and I was looking for the heat shielding that goes under here for the engine bay. Did my Google search, and this thing popped up in America, California. So it had been sat in someone's garage for a long time. It was on a kit car forum, a Lamborghini kit car forum, and I looked at it and I was like, that's actually a real Testarossa. So I mailed the guy, didn't get a response, sent him a text message, and yeah, I've got the car still, it's in the back of the garage. This advert was 3 years old at the time. So anyway, long story short, I negotiated a deal, promised the guy I would try and put this car back on the road, wouldn't break it for parts. And this is where we're at. The car is back on the road. Probably not how most people envisaged it was going to become, but it is probably the world's only kind of rat look Ferrari.
So when you show up at a Ferrari meet or on the forums, what kind of response, what kind of feedback do you get to this car?
Well, this car is, we have a product here called a sandwich spread called Marmite, and they famously market it as love it or hate it. So you either get what I've done with this car or you absolutely hate it. It is 50-50. It's one or the other. Now the problem with this car is when it arrived from California, I bought this car on pictures alone, and the price was really cheap. I could sell the gearbox for what I paid for this car with the shipping, as a second-hand part. But I wanted to put it back on the road. Now I didn't know the extent of how bad the car was. So when it arrived, there is so many, there's not a good part of this car. Everything needed work, replacing, refurbishing. So rather than spend more money than this car would ever be valued at. The problem with this car is because it's not a pure Ferrari, someone chopped the roof off, it's obviously had some kind of accident damage for someone to do that in the past. It will never be worth top dollar. So rather than throwing a load of money at it and trying to bring it so it was a shiny looking Ferrari, I just decided to have some fun with it. And this is what we've ended up with, and it's a heck of a lot of fun. So we have the 4.9 litre. It pumps out, I think, about 380 brake horsepower, so it's not bad for a 1987 car. I've tried to use everything that was original with this car that came. So the car came as a rolling chassis with the engine and 2 huge crates of parts. So I put the car back together as much as possible using everything that the Testarossa came out of the factory with. The difference being front suspension, whereas if you have a look here, by chopping the roof off, they've had to add a lot of strengthening in the midsection, otherwise the car is going to really flex badly. With the extra weight kind of shifting at the back, the front end of the car was riding really high and it looked ridiculously stupid. So we've had to put some coilovers on the front of the car. I've got some more to go on the back actually, and we've just lowered the stance very slightly just to make it a bit more aggressive. Ferrari Testarossas from factory, they don't sound too good. They're just quite, you've got this lovely 4.9 litre flat 12 engine, but it just sounds a little bit lame from factory. So I fitted a sports exhaust, and as you heard, it sounds quite good now.
Where's the sport exhaust from? Did you just fabricate it?
Okay, so the sports exhaust, so the difference was I got the sports exhaust from a friend who had a European Testarossa. I didn't realize that the whole exhaust system between the US and European cars was completely different. So I had this sat in my garage for a few years. I went to fit it and realized nothing actually was compatible. So hence we had to change the kind of midsection between the headers and the back box here. So we got rid of the cats and we just made some custom straight through pipes.
What made you decide to start working on your own Ferraris? Most people take them to a dealer or maybe, you know, a shop somewhere, a specialist shop. You're one of the few people, you're the only person that I know that actually works on their own Ferrari.
So I've been fortunate enough to own Ferraris for over 20 years. It's always been my dream since I was knee high. And part of that, I'm not a billionaire or anything like that. So to get and ascertain the first Ferrari, it meant that I had to do a little bit of work myself. Nowadays, with all the forums and the internet, there is so much knowledge out there, and Ferraris are no different to any other cars. They all have their common problems, so people were very keen to share how to fix those, and on the different cars, you know, what goes wrong. I have tried to give back, from all of that knowledge that I've got from everyone else. And if I fix something on a car, I used to do a write-up on it. Nowadays, I try to shoot a video. I've taken it to the next level. It gives people more confidence if they can see somebody actually fixing it. You know, I try from start to finish, and that's where, you know, I'm trying to take some parts of my channel now with the Ferrari, common problems and how to fix them.
I'm going to have a link to Scott's channel down below in the description. It's also going to be up here in a card. You should definitely go subscribe. He's got some cool stuff going on here. So this car has got quite an interesting patina finish, whatever you want to call it. Was this car originally red, and why is it this interesting shade that we have now?
So the car was originally red prior to me getting it and prior to some of this work starting. So as I said, when I bought the car, the roof had already been chopped off. Someone had obviously started to do the conversion on it, and they put the strengthening in the midsection of this car. It turned up like this in this kind of primer patina effect. I don't know what you would call it. I call it very ratty. And then in these two crates of parts, I had the interior. So the interior stayed as it is. Certain bits like this bit of padding here, I used the old roof lining and created that. So like I say, I've tried to use as much of the original car as possible. Then in the crate of parts, we had these Testarossa side strikes. These were in red, so these were the original color. And I also had two left side or two right side mirrors, I can't remember which, again in red. This part was in red as well. And so I bolted them on the car. I had to source the opposite side strikes and the opposite side mirror. And when they turned up, they were also in Ferrari Rosso Corsa. And I put them on the car and it looked pretty good. So I left it like that, and that's how it is today. I like it like that. The first question people ask me is, when are you going to finish it? And then the second one is, what color are you going to paint it? And my answer, it used to be I was going to paint it. I couldn't decide which color. They look good in black, they look good in white, they look good in red. But I've now decided it's going to just stay with this ratty look. People see this car. I'm very fortunate enough to have several other Ferraris, and they turn heads. But this thing, you literally see people's jaws drop and mouth some explicits when they see it. The problem with this car is it was in California. We're in the UK now. This weather is very unpredictable here, yeah? So if I want to take this out on a long drive, I have a slight problem. There's no roof at all. Yeah, if it rains, I get wet, which is not a problem. The issue is obviously 80s electrics down here, yeah? If they get wet, they go wrong, and that is extremely expensive to replace if you can get the parts. Yeah, Ferrari don't make half the parts for Testarossas anymore. There's a lot of Ferrari stuff that is not available now. There's still certain bits. This was all new, this was all new. You know, everything was probably like 90% of everything I needed to finish this car in those crates of parts, but there were still certain bits that I needed to get hold of. There's a couple of bits I'm still waiting for that are no longer manufactured and are not available anywhere in the world at the moment. So I'll show you those, but yeah, the car is as it is at the moment. Yeah, it's a rolling project still, so still bits to do. Luckily, I don't have to worry about the interior on this car, so I can just step on the seats. It'll still kick you back in your seat. I don't like to give this car the full beans because structurally I'm still not 100% about it. I'm not an attention seeker. I prefer I made the black Ferrari because I had red Ferraris and they really stand out, and then I've created this thing which really gets some attention. But yeah, it's more about the fun than the enjoyment for me. It adds to the character, if it's got an extra scrape or if I rest my coffee cup on the back while I'm working and there's a coffee stain there. Yeah, as you can see, it puts a smile on my face when I'm driving it.
This is amazing.
It puts a smile on most people's faces when they see it.
Yeah, this is fantastic. I gotta say, this is the most fun I've had in a Ferrari ever, I think, because this is such an unusual, amazing experience here in the English countryside with this Ratarossa, which is like no other Ferrari I've been in, and it's not perfect, it's the opposite of perfect. It's completely unique. You've done something that nobody else has done, that nobody else will ever probably do with their Testarossa. So I think it's a great way of resurrecting this car from probably just perpetually sitting in someone's garage.
Yeah, I think this was heading for one place. It was going to go to the breaker's yard. Like a second-hand door on a Testarossa is £3,000 for a second-hand door. So this car was worth far more as a breaker than it was for me buying it. And it was only going in one direction. It was never going to go back on the road unless some kind of crazy, eccentric guy like myself decided to take on a bit of a unique project, and that's part of the Testarossa's enjoyment, is that it is so different. I don't have to worry about it. It makes a fantastic noise, and yeah, it puts a smile on my face.
Yeah.